Alright guys, we'll be doing lesson 4. Let's get it.
In this lesson, we're going to learn about conditionals. Now, what exactly are conditionals? Now, computers, whether it's laptops, PCs, or mobile phones, have to make decisions all the time. Now, let's take an example.
Then first, let me type. Let's add a new file before this guy yaps. Because say typing on his side. Password HTML, enter, and then we will have HT tab, we'll close it, enter, and then head, enter, and then we have our own link. Make sure you watch your spelling, guys. STYLE style shit, because someone yesterday again style STYLESHEET style shit. Yesterday someone forgot this T and his link didn't link to the style or his or her HTML. Why am I saying his? Her HTML, because it's a she. Her HTML didn't link just because of a small spelling, and we took like a minute to figure that one out. Okay, type is equal to text slash css, and then we will have href tab. Make sure star oh yeah, well, I was missing a spelling. I'm just gonna say tab so it can automatically link to star, and then I'll close it. Now we have our link. Let's do this. Body, enter. Script, and then we will close it. Yeah, let's listen to him now.
If you're logging into a site, whether it's your email account, your Gmail, or Facebook account, you need to put in some information. You need to put in your username and password. And when you do, input your values and hit submit, then there's something happening behind the scenes. What's happening is there's an application that's comparing what you've input to what's actually stored in the app. And if it's correct, if there's a perfect match, then the system will let you in. And if there isn't a match, then it will give you some feedback. It will say something like incorrect username and password. Now, what's happening in the background there is that there's a conditional at play. The computer is checking the value that you've input against an existing value and then giving you feedback based on that. So it checks if the value is correct, if the username and password that you've entered are correct, then let you in. And if they are not correct, then output an error message. So what's happening behind the scenes is a conditional. There's an if somewhere there that's determining whether you should be allowed into the application or not. In a similar way, there's lots and lots of decisions that computers are making on the fly all the time. And in this lesson, we're going to learn how to make a computer make decisions. Now we do this using a keyword if. And in this lesson, I'm going to show you how to use the if. Now to set up this lesson, I've created a very basic template HTML page, and I've named it password.html. Now if you look at this page, again, very basic HTML head. There's a link to CSS, there's body tags, and there's your script tags. Now we're going to start building on top of this. The first thing we're going to do is to create a new variable. We'll call this variable password, and we'll assign it the value of 007 or whatever value you want to use. Right, now we're going to assume that that is the value that the user has input. Let's say somehow we got the value that the user input. Now we need to compare this to a value inside the database. So we're going to create a new variable to hold the value from the database, the actual password. Now to make it more clear, let's change this. We'll call it user input password. You see that? User input password is equal to 007. That means what the user has input is 007, and what's the actual password is also 007. Now we're going to match here, but we're going to change these values shortly. Now we're going to write a little segment to output something, to output correct if the username and password, if the two passwords match, and to output incorrect if they don't match. So let's do it. Okay, you start by typing if and brackets. If user input password, you gotta get the names absolutely perfect. I mean, if you look at this A that I've put in, it's an uppercase A. This is wrong. JavaScript won't find that variable. Remember, JavaScript is case sensitive. So there's a difference between an uppercase A and a lowercase a. If user input is equal to, now see what I've done? I've used a double equals to sign. When you are comparing two values, you don't use the single equals to sign. The single equals to sign is used for assignment. That means to assign a value to a variable. But the double equals to sign is used for comparison. So, if the user input password is equal to the actual password, that means it's a hit, it's correct. So what we do, let's output something. We're going to need to output some value onto the screen. But before we can output, we need some kind of HTML for the output. Okay, I've been making a mistake here. All of this actually should reside between the script tag.
I knew it. Why would it be white? But I didn't want to question him because he's the professor, you know. Control X. Maybe people. Control X, and then let's come here to script. Okay, let's do this. Enter. Control V. Exactly.
X. You need to be careful about this, otherwise your JavaScript won't work.
Press tab.
And up here,
and then
put
press tab.
A paragraph.
And then press tab.
We'll call it output. And leave it blank. Okay, so you've got your paragraph there. Now, what we're going to do here is, if the password that the user input, if user input password matches the actual password, then we're going to say something like your password is correct. So we're going to type document dot get element by ID, and the ID here in this case is output dot inner HTML is
This guy is fast. Document dot get by element ID. Document dot get element by ID, and then do this output side dot inner HTML equal
to correct password, semicolon. All good. Let's double check. There's some extra unnecessary lines. So we've got our paragraph, we've got the script. Inside there, we're declaring a variable called user input password. We're setting that to 007. And we're creating another variable called actual password. We're setting that to 007. And then comes the conditional. If the user input password is a match to the actual password, then output correct password. Should be fine. Let's save this and run it in our browser. Okay, looking at the browser,
let's go open our browser. I get blessed people. Yeah, correct. Okay.
see that it has output correct password. Because the passwords were a match, it outputted the text correct password. Let's make some changes. Let's say the user input a wrong password. Let's say the user input 008, for example. What happens in this case? Refresh, and there's nothing output.
Control S. So refresh. Then okay.
It's blank. Simply blank because there is no match between these two passwords, the user input and the actual password. So when it comes to this conditional to the if, then we find that it's a fail. And because it fails, if user input password does not match the actual password, then don't go inside these curly braces. Whatever is inside the curly braces will not operate. It will not execute. So basically what will happen is, if this condition is true, then this line will execute. If this condition is false, then it simply skips over and goes to the end of the page. Now, what do we do if we want there to be some kind of output in case the answer is wrong? We don't want a blank page if the output is wrong. We want to give the user some feedback to say your password is incorrect. Now, how do we do that? Simple. Along with if goes another keyword called else. And else is also followed by curly braces. Now, else means otherwise. So, if we read this like a normal English sentence, if the user input password matches the actual password, then output correct password. If it doesn't match, else. If it doesn't match, then output something else. Get element by ID, output dot inner HTML. What do we output? Incorrect password. Try again. And semicolon. So what happens here? If these two passwords don't match, then it's supposed to output incorrect password. Try again. Let's save this and refresh the browser. Boom, there we have it. Incorrect password. Try again. Let's test this one more time. Let's put in the correct password again. Save and refresh. Correct password. Awesome.
Call of Duty Mobile.
Okay, guys, that's it for which lesson is this one? I think it's lesson 4. Yeah, subscribe. We'll see you on the next lesson.